My name is Thomas, 44 years old, logistics manager by trade, which means, in short, I spend my days making sure everyone else's mess arrives on time. Pallets, schedules, boxes, numbers. I make systems work, quietly, efficiently. No room for flair, just results. I used to think that was enough, that if I applied the same principles to fatherhood, dependability, structure, quiet sacrifice, then everything else would fall into place. That presence would speak louder than performance. That consistency would earn love. I thought wrong. My son Logan is 16 now. I remember the moment he came into the world, blue and screaming and fragile. The nurse placed him in my arms and I swore, silently, to be better than my own father had been. I'd never leave. I'd never shout. I'd show up every single day, no matter the weight of the world pressing down. For a while, I did exactly that. Baseball games, dentist appointments, homework help, night shifts and double shifts and overtime logged just to keep up with the cost of growing a boy in America. He never lacked. Not once. But 5 years ago, Jenny, his mother, decided she wanted more. Or less. Or something in between. The marriage ended quietly. No cheating, no violence, just exhaustion. I moved out, signed the papers, shook the lawyer's hand. Then I kept showing up. That's the part nobody sees, the years after. I was never a weekend dad. I didn't do the every other holiday routine. We had shared custody, but I covered more than my half. Groceries when the fridge ran low. Backpacks when the straps snapped. I paid because I wanted Logan's life to stay steady, even if mine had fractured. 2 years ago, Jenny remarried. His name's Chad, the kind of man who wears sunglasses on the back of his head, drives a lifted truck, speaks in metaphors he doesn't understand. Chad is a volume guy, loud in restaurants, loud in arguments, loud when the silence needs space to breathe. He calls Logan champ and me the donor. He doesn't hide it. He brings energy. That's what Jenny said when I first met him, standing in the driveway with his jaw tight and handshake limp. Chad brings energy. He connects with Logan in a different way. Different, right? I stayed quiet. I figured if Logan was safe, if he had someone else cheering from the stands, then fine. Let them play their game. I'd still pay for the jerseys. But that's how it starts. The erosion. Not with a fight, but with a shrug. One little allowance, then another. You think you're keeping the peace. You think you're being the bigger man. What you're really doing is trading your voice for the illusion of harmony. Logan changed slowly. Less thanks, Dad. More Mom said it's fine. He started quoting Chad like scripture. Started pulling away, not with anger, but with absence. And I let it happen, because I thought it would pass. Thought he'd come back to center eventually. After all, I was the one who paid the school fees, who fixed his bumper when he scraped it on the mailbox, who showed up with ice packs when his ankle swelled after practice. But then, on a Thursday night, the balance shattered. It was 9:17 p.m. I remember the time because I was reconciling shipping manifests on my laptop, the TV humming in the background. My phone buzzed. I expected a reminder from work. Instead, it was Logan. A single text. I live by Chad's rules now. You're just the ex with a card. I stared at it. Read it again. Once more, slower. You're just the ex with a card. My breath went shallow. I wasn't angry, not at first. What I felt was colder. A sudden stillness. Like the air just before a hard storm. Those words weren't Logan's. Not in tone, not in structure. Chad wrote that. Or coached it. Or worse, inspired it. But Logan chose to send it. That was the part that sat like lead in my chest. I didn't respond. I didn't ask for clarification. What could I say? He'd made it clear. I wasn't Dad. I was the donor, the financier, the irrelevant old man who still paid for the Netflix account. So I got up early the next morning, earlier than usual. Made coffee black, dry toast. Opened the budget spreadsheet I hadn't touched since the custody agreement. And I started subtracting. Gone, the shared gas card. Gone, the Spotify family plan. Gone, the gaming pass, the booster fees, the weekend tournament travel fund. I kept only what the court required: food, shelter, medical, school. Nothing more. Then I opened the phone plan, transferred my line to a new provider, sent Jenny a 30-day notice of termination for Logan's line. Clean. Legal. No drama. I called the bank and froze the debit cards. The ones I used to refill without question, usually late at night when he'd text, "Can you add $40? I'm low." I'd always said yes. Always. Not anymore. Then I called my lawyer. Reviewed our agreement. Turns out, I'd been overpaying for 2 years. Jenny hadn't adjusted the expenses after she remarried. I hadn't pressed it. Until now. I drafted a message. Short, clear, professional. Effective immediately. I will cover only the following: food, shelter, school, and medical expenses. All non-essentials will be subject to prior written approval. Logan is welcome to send itemized requests with justification. Extracurriculars must be earned. 2 hours later, Jenny replied, "You can't just cut him off like this. He's a kid." I sat with that line for a long time. He's a kid. A kid who borrowed a grown man's pride to deliver a grown man's insult. I wrote back, "I'm not cutting him off. I'm drawing the line finally." She didn't respond. That night, I sat in my car outside the practice field. Logan didn't wave when he walked by. Didn't even glance my way. He got into Chad's truck, laughing. I watched them drive off, windows down, music loud. That was the moment I realized what I'd been all along. Useful. Until I wasn't. Came through a voice memo. Not from Logan. Not from Jenny. Not even from Chad. Came from Marcus, Logan's teammate. A kid I'd driven home after practice more times than I could count. The kind who mumbles thanks and stares out the window. He didn't owe me anything, which is why I listened to the recording 3 times. No context. No explanation. Just a one-line text. "You should hear this." Play. Chad's voice. Unmistakable. Gravelly. Overconfident. Dripping with contempt. "He's just an ATM with ears. Forget him. I'm the man now." I paused. Rewound. Listened again. ATM with ears. That line, it didn't just sting. Confirmed what I'd already started to suspect. My presence had been reduced to a payment method. My voice, my warnings, my worry. All of it background noise, tolerated only as long as the money flowed. I saved the file, converted it to text, printed it, filed it. For the first time in years, I began keeping records not out of duty, but out of necessity. 2 weeks later, Logan messaged me. "Need money for regionals. $250. It's in 3 days." No greeting, no plan, just the assumption I'd comply. I sat at my desk, read it twice, then typed my reply. "Submit a breakdown. Show me what you're contributing, what it costs, and why it matters to you. No plan, no pay." His response was almost immediate. "You're a joke. Mom says you're being abusive. Chad says you'll fold like always." That word, abusive, it didn't come from a child. That was Jenny weaponizing therapy buzzwords to hide entitlement. That was Chad drawing a line in the sand he expected me to erase. But I didn't fold. I waited. No plan came. The regional tournament passed without Logan. The team lost early. I saw the updates on the league's social feed. Instead of attending, Logan posted a photo, him and Chad, at a restaurant that charges $80 for a steak. Logan wore a smug grin. The caption stung more than I expected. "A real step-up pays without lectures. A real step-up." As if years of scraped knuckles and silent sacrifices could be erased with one overpriced meal and a few forced laughs. But I didn't reply. I didn't text. I didn't ask why. I just adjusted the budget again. That week, I moved Logan's auto insurance to a conditional team policy. Independent. His name, his responsibility. The terms were simple. Maintain AB average, show basic respect, and coverage continues. Drop below, the policy lapses. No lectures, just consequences. I sent Jenny the update. PDF attached. Deadline clear. She responded within the hour. "You're trying to control him with money." I wrote back. "No, I'm parenting through values. Money follows effort, not defiance." She didn't respond again. A few days later, Logan texted. No requests, just a screenshot. His grades. GPA 3.1. Followed by one word. Updated. I checked. Confirmed it. Renewed his policy. Then came a second message. Thanks. That was the first time it sounded real. No punctuation. No sarcasm. Just a crack in the wall. But cracks aren't peace. They're warnings. Signals of stress in the foundation. At the next conference night, I arrived alone. Press slacks. Folder in hand. I'd gathered everything. Receipts, emails, payment logs, transcripts of every major expense from the last 5 years. I even printed Chad's voice note and labeled it. Recorded by third party. Authenticated. Jenny and Chad arrived 10 minutes late. He wore a blazer too tight at the shoulders. She wore the expression of someone about to lie politely. We sat. The counselor opened with pleasantries. Then I slid the folder across the table. I believe in clarity, I said. These are the facts. I've covered over 80% of Logan's educational and extracurricular expenses since the divorce. I've also attached proof of the recent recording. I believe you'll find the tone instructive. Chad frowned, opened the folder. His face shifted as he read the words spoken in his own voice. He's just an ATM with ears. Forget him. I'm the man now. He tried to interrupt. I raised a hand. Calm. Unbothered. This isn't confrontation. It's documentation. From this moment forward, I'll be following our court agreement to the letter. No excess. No handouts. Respect must precede requests. The counselor nodded. Professional. Detached. Boundaries are healthy, she said. Especially for Logan. Jenny's mouth moved, but no sound came. Chad tried again, low and slow. You're taking this too far, man. I pushed the paper across the table, the line with his own words highlighted. Not a threat, I said. Just evidence. We didn't shake hands. The following week, Logan and I were set to fly together to a spring training camp. A gift I'd reserved before the latest fallout. One seat was already paid. At the airport, I stood by the kiosk, boarding pass in hand. Then came the voice. It wasn't Logan. It was Chad's stepkids. 2 boys I barely knew, smug and loud enough to cause a scene. He's not flying with us. One of them laughed. He's not family. The terminal went still. I saw strangers look up. Saw the counter agent glance between us. Unsure. Logan stood nearby. Silent. Not shocked. Not defensive. Just compliant. I said nothing. I walked to the counter, canceled the second reservation, and left. No announcement. No guilt. By the time the flight was delayed, I was already in a cab, watching the sky through rain-slicked windows. No one called. No one apologized. A week passed before Logan showed up at my door. He didn't say sorry. He didn't blame the boys. He just asked a question. If I follow the rules, would you still help? I paused, looked him in the eye. Yes, that's always been the deal. Respect and a plan. It didn't feel like victory. That night after Logan asked if I'd still help, I sat alone in the living room with the lights dimmed and the windows open. The silence didn't comfort me. It exposed me. The wind carried the scent of spring. Wet concrete, budding trees, distant rain. And all I could think about was how long I'd mistaken sacrifice for love returned. He had asked me if I'd still help. Not because he missed me. Not because he saw me as his father again. But because the system I built finally made him pause. And maybe that was enough. Maybe parenting is just systems. Guardrails. Terms. Maybe the days of being dad ended long ago, and now all that remained was maintenance. I didn't sleep that night. I reread every message. I opened the spreadsheet again. Each number stared back like a scar. What I'd paid, what I'd forgiven, what I'd ignored. And one word kept floating to the surface. Used. But I kept showing up. That's what I told myself. That's what real men do. You hold the line. You raise the bar. You make sure your kid doesn't drown, even if they spit in your face while you're throwing the rope. So when Logan submitted a new training schedule structured, detailed, with breakdowns for cost, time, and effort, I funded it. Not all of it. Just enough to match his hustle. I let him cover the rest. He took a few shifts at a local gym. Missed a birthday party or two. Skipped a hangout. Small sacrifices. Real ones. He was learning. Not how to love me, not yet, but how to work. How to stand for something. That was a start. 2 weeks later, he aced a mock exam. The coach pulled him aside at practice and gave him a nod. Not a speech, just a look. The kind that said, "You're stepping up." Progress. Then came the school meeting. I knew it was coming. I'd received the notice 3 weeks earlier. Academic counseling for upperclassmen. College prep. Planning next steps. I showed up early. Folder in hand. The same folder I'd been building all year, with receipts, transcripts, email threads. The record of a man trying to father without permission. Jenny walked in 10 minutes late. Chad followed. His sunglasses sat on top of his head even indoors. A man permanently prepared for applause that never came. They sat across from me. The counselor greeted us all politely. "I want to begin with transparency," I said. "I've brought documentation. I think it's time we address not just Logan's progress but the support system, or lack of one, around him." I opened the folder. Slid over the same transcript. Chad's voice again. "He's just an ATM with ears. Forget him. I'm the man now." The counselor read it. Her lips thinned. "Mr. Thomas," she said quietly, "is this authentic?" I nodded. "Recorded by Logan's teammate. Date stamped. Verified." Chad leaned back, trying to laugh it off. "Come on, that's just locker room talk. You know how guys joke around." "No," I said, calm, clear. "That was your truth. Mine is here in receipts." I handed over the next packet. Years of bank transfers. Equipment costs. Medical bills. Payment records for tournaments, tutoring, test prep, uniforms, transportation. Jenny looked away. "I'm not here to argue," I continued, "just to establish a new framework. Going forward, I will fund only what aligns with Logan's effort and my values. If that sounds like control, so be it. I call it parenting." The counselor nodded. "Clear expectations. Good boundaries." Chad muttered something I couldn't hear. I didn't ask him to repeat it. I didn't need to. The counselor looked at Jenny. "Do you agree with this structure?" Jenny hesitated, then gave a non-committal nod. I took it for what it was, cowardice wrapped in civility. After the meeting, as they left, I handed Chad one final copy of his own quote. "No threats," I said again. "Just evidence." He didn't take it. I left it on the table. A week later, the airport debacle happened. I'd reserved 2 seats for Logan and me to a summer training clinic 3 states away. Non-refundable. Half paid. The rest due at check-in. We arrived early. I stood in line, boarding pass in hand, trying to shake off the tension in my shoulders. That's when I heard them, Chad's stepkids. The ones Jenny now called our boys in Facebook posts. Kids I barely knew. Kids who carried Chad's smirk and Jenny's silence. One of them said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "He's not flying with us, he's not family." People turned. Logan froze. Security looked up from their station. And me? I walked to the kiosk, canceled 1 reservation, collected the receipt. No fight, no explanation, just a quiet exit. By the time the delay announcement came, I was already in a cab, driving home through traffic that didn't care whether I existed. No one called. No one followed. The next morning, I got a text from Logan. "Sorry about the airport. That was messed up." I didn't reply, not out of anger, but because it wasn't enough. I didn't need regret. I needed recognition. And we weren't there yet. 2 nights later, he knocked. Not a long conversation. No grand apology. Just this. "Would you still help me if I stuck to the plan?" I looked at him, this boy with my blood, shaped by another man's shadow. "Yes," I said. "That's always been the deal. Respect, plan, and effort." That week, he put in the work. Showed up early. Stayed late. Lifted. Studied. slept better, ate cleaner. He was rebuilding not just his body but his discipline. We didn't talk about what had happened. We didn't need to. At the next tournament he played smart. Not flashy, focused. He passed more than he shot. Took fewer risks. Made the team look better. His coach clapped him on the back. On the way home, Logan turned to me and asked, "Are you and Karen gonna have kids?" Karen, my partner now. Kind. Steady. The first person in years who didn't try to make me smaller to fit her story. Maybe, I said. But if we do, they'll grow up in a home where love is earned, not used as leverage. Logan didn't reply, just nodded. A few weeks later, he sent another text. "Sorry about the wallet comment. That was messed up." This time, I replied, "I forgive you. Let's move forward." No lecture, no speech, just a door creaking open. He started sending clips, game film, practice drills, asking for feedback. I helped, quietly, consistently. When he got a call from a scout, a real one with credentials, he texted, "Let's make a reel. Can we meet Sunday?" I said yes. He didn't flake. He didn't make excuses. That weekend, we sat side by side, editing clips, trimming seconds, matching footage with stats. At one point, he said, "I want this. I'm ready to work." And for the first time in years, I believed him. He still lives with Jenny. That's fine. Jenny still avoids eye contact when we cross paths. That's also fine. Chad? He doesn't speak to me anymore. Doesn't make jokes. Doesn't play alpha. Because where evidence lives, ego dies. Last week, Logan texted, "Can't make clinic Saturday. Got a double shift. Sunday okay?" I replied, "Proud of you. Yes, Sunday works." Karen was reading next to me. She glanced over my shoulder, smiled, and hugged me. Quiet, warm, no words. We're building something here, and this time it's on solid ground. I don't remember the exact moment I stopped needing Logan to love me. It wasn't a dramatic revelation. No slow motion scene with sad music and falling rain. Just a quiet acceptance, born from 1,000 small betrayals and the long, slow erosion of hope. The kind of clarity that doesn't arrive like a lightning bolt, but settles over you like dust. Inevitable, silent, undeniable. I had spent years bleeding for a family that never asked for a donor, only a drain. And even when Logan started showing growth, when he worked harder, when he said thank you without sarcasm, I understood the difference between progress and transformation. Growth is real, but so is the scar underneath it. We were rebuilding, yes, but not what we had. Something else. Something colder. More transactional. More durable. A few weeks after the scout call, Logan sent over his application essay. It was decent. Polished. The grammar was tight, but the voice was hollow. It read like it was written for a panel, not from a person. I edited it, offered notes, trimmed the fluff. Then I handed it back and said, "You rewrite it. Your voice. Your story." He looked at me for a long second, nodded, and went upstairs without arguing. The next draft was better. Raw. He wrote about discipline, about losing direction, about how easy it is to coast when no one demands better, and how hard it is to rebuild when comfort ends. He didn't mention me by name. He called me a man who held the line. That was enough. I submitted the letter of recommendation. Not glowing, not soft, just honest. Logan has faced challenges. Not dramatic ones, the more dangerous kind. Entitlement, complacency. I watched him fall into those traps. I also watched him claw his way out. Slowly. Honestly. If you want someone with raw potential and the capacity to learn through failure, consider him. He got accepted. Not to the top school, not the dream school, but to a program that fit. A place where his name wouldn't carry weight. Only his work. He texted me the moment he got the email. I got in. I know it's not Stanford, but it's mine. I wrote back, "Damn right it is. Earned, not gifted." And that was our new rhythm. Blunt, sparse, real. There was no hug, no reunion speech, no staged moment for a camera. Just mutual respect growing in the soil where love had once been planted and left untended. The week before orientation, Logan came by with a list, books, fees, moving supplies. Nothing extravagant. No Bluetooth speakers. No vague emergency cash request. Just essentials. I covered half. He covered the rest with his saved wages. No drama. No guilt. We packed his car together. I gave him a toolbox, a laundry guide, a handshake. He didn't call me Dad. He didn't need to. He said, "Thanks for showing up," even when I didn't. I nodded, closed the trunk, watched him drive off. Jenny didn't come out to say goodbye. I saw her behind the curtain, watching. She always did prefer to witness things without being responsible for them. Chad wasn't around. Figures. 2 months passed before Logan reached out again. Not to ask for help, just to share a win. Prof said I submitted one of the best essays in class. "Told you you had a voice," I replied. "Told you I'd use it," he shot back. It was the first time I smiled reading one of his messages. That night, Karen and I sat out on the back porch. The sky was clear, stars sharp and cold. She rested her head on my shoulder. "You okay?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. Then, yeah, for the first time in a long time. She looked up. "Do you think he'll ever really see what you did for him?" I exhaled slowly. Maybe, maybe not. But I see it. That's enough now. We didn't speak for a while. Just sat there in the quiet. The truth is, I'm not angry anymore. Not at Logan. Not even at Jenny. I'm not waiting for apologies that won't come, or gratitude that would only arrive too late. I've learned something harder than forgiveness. Indifference with boundaries. It's not about revenge. It's not even about being right. It's about knowing where you end and where others begin, and choosing not to bleed across that line. Logan and I still talk. Briefly, purposefully. He sends updates. I respond. When he asks for advice, I give it. When he doesn't, I stay out of it. There's no more begging. No more overextending. No more writing checks to buy back dignity. And the freedom in that, it's brutal but pure. Jenny reached out once, email, not a call. "Can we meet to talk about a new tuition plan? Logan's second year will be tighter." I replied the next day. Logan is a legal adult. If he wants to propose a plan, he knows how. I won't be a silent ATM in the background. She didn't respond. Chad never followed up. Because that's what happens when power shifts. The room goes quiet. People who once roared with confidence suddenly become ghosts. I hear whispers sometimes from mutual acquaintances, from teachers, from neighbors. They say Logan's different now. More grounded, less entitled, focused. I don't take credit. I just remember the long nights, the slammed doors, the silence that followed each small rejection. And I remember the decision, cold, firm, necessary, to stop feeding a machine that ran on my guilt. I remember saying, "No more," and meaning it. And that's the part no one warns you about. When you finally stop being the mule, the pack horse, the silent financier, people don't thank you. They blame you. They call you bitter, harsh, controlling. But what they're really saying is, "How dare you stop letting me use you?" To those people, I offer no explanation. No justification, just a mirror. Because when the bills came due, I paid mine. And then I walked away. Today, the house is quieter. Karen and I are talking about having a child. We're not rushing. We've learned the hard way what happens when one person carries the whole structure while others poke holes in the roof. If we build this next chapter, we build it slow. Together. With steel, not hope. And if we raise a child, that child will know this. Love without respect is slavery. And I will never be a slave again. Not to biology. Not to obligation. Not to silence. Not to some child's weaponized disappointment. So now I ask you, whoever you are, was I wrong? Was I cruel to stop paying for love that never returned? Was I selfish to demand respect before sacrifice? Or was this the only way left to teach a lesson no one wanted to learn? You tell me.